Well, hello and welcome to a special episode of Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Nick, and I'm not going to introduce the topic. Today we're talking about #humans. There's no intro music because we're just recording this, and then we're going to put it right out on the podcast. We wanted to make sure that we got it out in a timely fashion. And truth be told, we've been a little bit behind the eight ball with our podcast and staying up to date. So here we are, everybody, Nick and Kisma.
We're not that far behind.
We're not. But
what are you doing? Don't murr our podcast.
I'm not murring. I'm just saying, like, we've been a little bit, to get in and get recorded.
It's been busy.
There's been busy. Yeah, there's been a lot of things happening.
Fabulous episode with Laura Belgray last week.
That's right.
So if you haven't listened to it, go back. It's so fun, especially with everything that's going on now. It's a great episode to listen to.
Yeah. And you're probably hearing, #humans is just really about the state of our world right now, with the virus outbreak and all the very human things that are happening. And you've probably got a million voices, that you're hearing about this. And our intention here is to be a voice of reason and humanity and staying connected to what matters most. Mm-hmm. So that's really what we're here for. So #humans. I'll start.
Okay.
It's as if all of the human things are just dialed up to 11 right now. Like this,
0.5.
People are having a very, very human experience around all of this.
It's a rough time.
Yeah.
I think the environment, it's scary. It's unprecedented. I mean, every time I hear someone speak, a leader in the news or whatever, it's like, this is unprecedented. Or is it? We could go back to the Spanish flu and all these other things. But for modern day times right now, what I feel is like we were on a roll. Life was good, even though not everyone, but many people are complaining about politics and this and that. It took this thing to show us that, whoa, we're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And all the more reason to not just be human, but also be spiritual.
Yes. My hope, because I know that this will pass, this too shall pass away. My hope is that we don't do what we normally do and just go back to life like nothing happened and forget about it all. I truly hope that we remember just how vulnerable we are. Certainly not from a doom and gloom place, but truly from a place of humility to say, whoa, there are some things that we can really look at, both within ourselves and within our society and our culture and our governments and our systems and structures and everything, to say, wow, there's some lessons here to really take forward.
Right. Absolutely.
On a more personal note, this is what I see, is exactly what we said at the beginning, is folks are scared, man. And I was talking to just the people that I see and the people that I've talked to just out in the wild, outside of my inner circle. People, they just kind of need to dump.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in their head. And when they start talking, there's a lot that comes out. Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, like I certainly did not expect to be having this kind of conversation with the person who's bagging the groceries or, and it's just like, wow, like people, it's personal. Like it's very, very personal, and people they're needing a place for that to go. What I found is that kindness is the order of the day.
I think that's excellent. When I was, speaking of grocery baggers, I was at Ralph's grabbing some last minute things, and, just chatting. And the guy putting groceries in is like, oh, thanks for being so nice. Everyone's been yelling at me today. And even with that, he was still very cheery. And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. But he's like, I know. But it's we have to think before we start dumping on people that are just doing their job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that a lot of our listeners are doing that.
I doubt it.
I don't think so, but if you are, please don't.
Stop it.
Just do your best to just get your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to help anybody or anything. And I say that more to call all of you to be the light and to make this a time to practice kindness. There's no more beautiful and wonderful spiritual practice than the practice of kindness. And that is a sense of softness and patience with people as much as you are able. The one that stands out to me is the lady at the Olive Bar. Did
you get yelled at the Olive Bar?
I did. Yeah, I got really called out. I was excited first and foremost because they didn't close down the Olive Bar. I'm like, awesome. I'm going to get some olives, and so I was just scooping up and filling up my little thing there, and the lady came over and she had noticed that there were 2 spoons in one thing, and she's like, we need to really keep these. They're not supposed to cross contaminate and she's olives. Like, she's calling me out on it. And I'm like, she was really quite aggressive about it. And I was surprised, and it took me a second. But I just said, I'm sorry. I don't think I did that, but if I did, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to make more work for you.
Yeah.
And immediately it was like that little bit of softness. And then she starts telling me, then that's another conversation I did not expect to be having, is she's telling me about just how scared she is because everybody's buying everything and the workers can't shop until after they're done, but she's like, there's nothing going to be anything left for us. And it was like this whole thing.
So heart-wrenching.
Yeah. And I guess for the listeners, I'm not saying, that you have to be that person. Like this is what I'm here to do.
You're trained to do this.
Yeah.
You get paid to do that.
I've literally trained for years. Like this is what I've been training for. And this is what I do. I know that this is what I'm here to do. So I'm happy to be that person. I'm not saying you have to be, but I am suggesting and inviting you to practice some kindness and some softness with people, because that was just below the surface and just on the other side of a spoon in the wrong container, everybody. So it's out there.
Oh, it breaks my heart that people that are working so hard at the grocery stores have this feeling of they're not going to have anything because it really puts things in perspective. We can do with less.
Yeah.
We can do with less. This is such a, I don't want to use, it's not a test, but in some ways it is, to look at how much toilet paper we use, how many tissues we use, how many paper towels, which is all, we know what it's doing to the earth. Hopefully it's being recycled, but if it isn't, just all the things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
Everything that we take for granted. It's such a moment where, oh, okay, I got to really look at that. And I think there's really some brilliance in there, and there's some gifts. And I coming from the spiritual aspect, and our listeners are used to this, I'm not trying to make light of anything. Definitely we have to be wise, and we have to choose. And Nick and I were talking before the episode, about social distancing. But we can't spirit distance. We cannot separate ourselves from spirit, from universe, from God, from source, because there's so many answers there that can help us.
Yeah, and so much faith in that. Because right now, if you look at on David Hawkins' scale of emotions, like there's a place in the middle called courage, right? And below that is the lower emotions of anger and fear is where we're at, just overall as a culture. And I'm not saying that every individual is there, but if you average it out, we're going to wind up in fear, and that's below water. So where we're looking to get right now is at least to the state of courage and that sense of faith, that connection to whatever your, God or higher power or whatever that is for you, to stay connected with that. Because all the lower emotions and all that chatter in the head and all the chatter on the news and all the things that we take on, those are all things that are going to diminish that connection.
Absolutely.
And those are the things that will keep us below that point, because we need to get our heads above water. And that is courage to start, and then willingness beyond that to step in.
Right. And that courage, it's going to be for everybody. Courage comes from such a deep place in us. And even if somebody is looking at their last paycheck, not sure how they're going to pay their rent, get food, when we go deep as humans, really, really deep into the core of our being, and we're willing to access and invoke the help of the unseen, we can have courage. And when that courage is there, it allows also for gratitude, which can be an odd word right now. But there's something, it's like back to Florence Scovel-Shinn's teachings. There's always something to be grateful for. There's always something to give. And this just generates the universal and spiritual laws to work for us. And when there's that gratitude and that giving energy, there's an expectancy of things are going to shift, things are going to get better. And I want us all to stay in the spirit and the human path, to go deep and know that it does matter what we think, what we say, how we pray, how we meditate, how we bless. All of those things matter, and they shift exponentially the results that are going on this planet. Like, we can't deny it. We can't turn our back on any of that. We need to double, triple down.
Now, you're the Prosperity Code mentor. So tell me, I see a lot of lack going on. That's the panic buying and things like that. But at the same time, I think there is a certain wisdom. There's an understanding that, hey, this could go a couple different ways here, and this is a bit of a precarious situation.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair or reasonable to just say, oh, everything's going to be perfect and fine.
No.
I don't think that's right. But at the same time, is to not buy into that and to stay out of that and to make wise choices, specifically with your money and your purchases, but without getting caught in the lack. And I'm wondering what guidance you can offer around that.
Such a great question. First of all, we'll see the lack. Some of us will feel the lack within us just from the shakeup. And the challenge, it's like a double whammy, because we're talking about a virus which talks about health, which talks about survival, and then people are, the health crisis and overpacked hospitals. We just hear these things, and immediately our survival is triggered. And money, the financial markets crashing, people being laid off, stores closing, restaurants closing, survival. So it's such a gut punch in a double whammy, and it will trigger so much lack that there's not enough. And right before you, there might not be enough. This is where we go deep for the courage, and this is where we understand that law of polarity, which states that whatever is happening right now, the exact opposite must exist. And are we seeing it right now? Are we in it right now? Not a lot of us. Yet that exact opposite is there. And so that allows to generate the faith and the courage that, okay, there is another place that we can step into and allow the abundance to be present. And one of the most important things will be to look at everything that you have now that's working for you, everything. If you're still healthy, be grateful. If you have food in your refrigerator, be grateful and have the courage to figure out where are the other meals, how are they coming in. Not to go out and hoard. When people are fighting at the store, it's all being triggered by survival and safety. And so there isn't this intellect present, and there isn't that sense of, okay, you actually need this can of beans, please take it. There's so much vibrancy in being willing to do with less so that someone else can have, and you'll receive back. It's the law of reciprocity. As well, it's such an opportunity for healing.
I think on all levels. And because of all of the things that are coming out in people, we go back to that vulnerability and how fast all this has happened, and how surprising, and all the emotions that brings up along with it. That was there all along. Yes. That was never not there.
Right.
It was there to begin with inside of you, and now it's been activated by these circumstances. So great, and it's just purging out, just like we've talked about in so many ways. The mental, as you talked about, is staying objective for sure, and staying out of negative patterns, because all those old patterns and the negative patterns and the things that kind of lurk in the background when things are pretty okay, they've always been there, and now they're dialed up, and now is an opportunity to start to solve those things. And certainly physically, my work with energy mastery, I've been saying for a really long time that it's super important to be able to have skills and tools to heal yourself and fortify yourself.
Right.
And to really know how illness and disease works in the body and the energy and the mind, and to be able to have in your hands tools to solve that. Like, if this doesn't, really light that up and highlight how important it is to have that, I don't know what will. Like, it's time, everybody. It's so time to make sure that we're educated in how to really care for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I was saying that last night on the ashram call, where it was so important to pray for, and we'll do this at the end of our podcast, but not just the leaders of all countries, the military of all countries, the medical workers and health professionals, also the light workers and healers. I feel like something is happening where we're shifting back to the time of the Essenes, where healing and miracles happened regularly. And we're being forced to look at all ways, not denying Western medicine, it's fabulous, but looking at all ways that we can create health and solve problems and be able to heal. Energy mastery is great. I mean, I've used it on 2 or 3 clients today. I'm going to work on myself. I've been doing some of the metaphysical clearings as well for people and myself. We have to focus on that.
Yeah, because that's what will help your system to stay truly strong and vibrant, and make sure that those things don't get in, because it comes in through the energy first. The energy is your first line of defense before it gets into the physical body.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, we all have this field. Some people hear auric field, energetic field. What's going on will get very sticky in there. And when the energy field is clear and clean, it gives the body such a better opportunity to be healthy and to fight off things and to heal. I mean, we've seen it how many times, even with a cut or a bruise or something, work on it and it heals overnight.
Yeah, especially in situations like this where there is so much out there.
Yes, right now there's so much out there.
From the news, from other people, and from everything else that we're being bombarded with. I've seen a couple instances in our group of graduates where they've chimed in, because that's what the group is for, and said, I'm scared. I have some symptoms. I'm not feeling myself. And the first thing, and this is a little bit different than what we normally recommend, is like, okay, clean up your energy, but we really need to have you work with this tool. We call it the magic box, but to work with that to solve what's going on in your head. And inevitably it turned around within a few hours.
Right.
The symptoms start to go away. They start to feel more themselves, and they're back in their bodies.
Yeah.
So it gave them the opportunity to get out of that whole energy and to get back into something healthy for themselves. Yeah. That's how, when you see something like this, that's how quickly it can shift. And that's why it's important to have the tools in your own hands.
How do people reach you if they want to do a session?
Best thing to do, if you want to do a session, or if you want to learn for yourself and figure out what that's all about, is go to my website, nickhansinger.com. And if you want specifically to learn about the class, is go to nickhansinger.com/heal yourself. There's also an icon right on the homepage for it. But that's what you do. If you want to talk about having a session, if you really need some attention, or to deal with your stress or anxiety or worry or fear, or whatever's coming up for you, then that's just the mystic at nickhansinger.com.
The mystic at nickhansinger.com. Email.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Just drop me an email. I'm
those
right
links
here
in the show notes. It's really important, everyone, as we're investing in Clorox and Lysol and all that, invest in your healing. I can't even tell you the difference that it makes.
It is a true game changer. But let's talk about that for a second, because this opens up an opportunity for people to find some unhealthy habits on a couple different levels. Social distancing. So first, I'm going to say it doesn't mean isolate yourself inside your house, close all your windows, and watch Netflix all day.
No,
that is
no.
100% not what that means.
You don't want all that EMF all day long. Nope.
All of those things weaken your immune system. Okay, if
Right.
you have concerns about that. I understand the concept of it, and I'm on board. Social distancing is important because you can be strong and healthy and carry it to somebody who's
Right.
not. I totally appreciate that. I'm not going against that, but you can go outside and keep your distance, and you can go outside and not touch things. But that fresh air
Right.
is a huge boost for the immune system, and it's a natural disinfectant, as is the sunlight. If it
Right.
happens to be, if you happen to have some sunshine, we little short supply in that in San Diego these days.
Yeah.
Or some vitamin D if you have to. But it's super important to certainly to honor that. I totally understand it, but also to recognize that Mother Nature really knows how to help us here.
It's important to, Dr. Zana Hackett popped into our group and she just talked about the universe really does provide. It's just the same, like, don't spirit distance. The universe really does provide, and sometimes we miss it when it's right in front of us. We're so used to the man-made technologies and things that we're missing the fact that go in and breathe fresh air, get some sunlight, ground with Mother Earth, eat to live, avoid sugar, everyone, avoid alcohol as much as, like, man, the quarantini, I get it. Like, if there's nothing else, you want to sit and have your favorite wine, but just make sure you're healthy before you start doing that, because all those things can really tax the immune system.
Right. It's so important. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to boost your immune system. Eating right. I've enjoyed cooking a little bit more.
We've been cooking great. We've been eating right. We've been taking extra doses of vitamin C, chaga mushrooms from Sir Thrival.
Yeah. My very first cooking video did pretty well.
Yeah, I had a little cooking video there. You made jamu juice. Everything that we know how to do, we're doing. And just like, I guess the whole purpose of this episode is, like Nick said, this is what we do. We're used to being around people and supporting them. And we know that not everyone has the tools that we have. And it was still like, we had to really center ourselves to focus and face forward and do what we're here to do and not get caught up in the chaos.
Yeah.
And so, I share with everyone out there listening, re-listen to our podcast rather than the news. Go back to old episodes, grab a session with Nick, invest in yourself, in time, energy, resources of putting good stuff in your mind, in your energy, in your body. It will make a difference. I promise.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. That's something that's been on my mind a lot too, is just watching myself and recognizing how diligent I have to be with myself. And I have literally years and years of training in the very best tools with the very best teachers. And the diligence that's required. And I get that a lot of people out there have that.
Yeah.
And
because they have diligence and training in other things. Right.
Yeah, but not the things that necessarily really keep them healthy or keep their mind and their head on straight and things like that. So that's really where a lot of the compassion comes from. And I say that also to say, like, share, if you got something to share, reach out. You're not going to find any judgment here, none at all. It is a very, very human time, and we are here to support.
Yes, absolutely.
Did we hit all our points?
I think, a couple of resources. Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof Guy, really been enjoying his videos over on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, Kisma Awake. I've got some videos, again, talking about spirit universe. I'm all about the as above, so below. We've got to be smart with our bodies and our choices. And this is not the time to lean out of spirit. It's the time to lean in. And also, if you're listening to this, you are some kind of light worker or seeker, it's our time now to hold that space. You don't have to fix things for people. You don't have to take on anything or open boundaries that you don't want to, but it's really about maintaining that energetic, spiritual, emotional, mental diligence of the universe is here. The universal laws, the spiritual laws do not stop working.
Yeah. And if you're a healer, coach, light worker, and you are only just dealing with yourself and keeping yourself healthy and using everything that you have to keep yourself from, getting wrapped into all of that, you're still helping.
Right.
Okay. There's no pressure necessarily, for you to go save the world or anything like that. If you're just doing that for yourself, you're doing something truly titanic for any lives that you're touching, right? If you feel the strength and the call and the power to step in a bigger way, by all means,
Right.
now is the time. But now is more important than ever to just take care of yourself first.
We're all interconnected. There's universal intelligence space. We see the interconnectedness with the virus. Let's stay interconnected with the highest thought, energy, purpose, prayer, meditation, etc.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to mention before Kisma shares a really beautiful prayer that you can keep for yourself is something that we've talked about so many times on the podcast is blame and criticism.
Yeah.
Right.
Not helpful right now.
So
Never helpful, but especially right now.
Yeah. And I understand that people are looking for answers and there's a misunderstanding, I think, though, that if we understand how it all started or, what the real, conspiracy is behind it or any of that kind of stuff, that it'll actually solve the problem. And it's actually not going to solve.
And there is a time for all of that.
Yeah.
But the energy of criticism and blame, it diverts us from solution. We've got to stay in solution.
That's right. And all of that will only diminish and destroy your own energy and your own resiliency.
Absolutely.
So super important, more important, all these things, all the stuff that we always talk about on the podcast, more important than ever,
right.
Because they're based on the spiritual laws and the spiritual laws don't change.
Right. That's the thing to lean into.
Yeah. So Kisma, take us out here with this beautiful
I wanted
prayer.
to end with a meditation prayer that I've been having my clients and students do for the planet and for themselves. And it's called The Great Invocation. It was written by Alice Bailey a few decades ago. And if you're not driving or walking, or if you are walking, you can listen, and you can obviously listen if you're driving. But if you're sitting and you have space, I want you just to take a moment to connect with your higher self and take a few deep breaths in. You might even close your eyes if you're in stillness. Call in your higher self, which is always there, everyone. Your higher self exists. And that full potential, that higher self is there. So more important than ever that you lean into and call and invoke your higher self. And I will recite the prayer and you can mentally follow along with me. And one way that is really beautiful to do it, if you can, is to raise your hands with your palms facing out. And imagine just so much beautiful light coming down from your crown and into your heart and out the palms of your hands. And underneath the palms of your hand, imagine there is the earth, tiny Mother Earth, so beautiful. And just repeat mentally these words. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of humans. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of humans. May the teacher of the planet return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of humans, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of humans, let the plan of love and light work out. May it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
Stay healthy, stay happy. We love you. Namaste.
Peace.